would seed its random number generator with a Geiger counter. Tick, 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 tick.
Yes.
If there was a longer gap between ticks than the previous gap between ticks, that was a 1.
So if they draw like 49, 49, 49, 49, 49, that means everybody needs to get out of the building immediately.
The AI fix a digital zoo. Smart machines, what will they do? Flies to Mars or bake a bad cake? World domination, a silly mistake. Bots with brains.
Hello and welcome to episode 58 of the AI Fix, your weekly dive headfirst into the bizarre and sometimes mind-boggling world of artificial intelligence. My name's Mark Stockley.
And I'm Graham Cluley. Now, Mark, I hear we've had some feedback.
We have. Listener Kyle Oliphant got in touch and said, I have found an amazing product that you need to check out. An example of some really interesting AI being put in places it doesn't belong.
Oh, I can think of some places where...
I'm quite sure there are people selling those products as well, but not today, Graham. Today I give you the Neurable MW75 headphones. Check this out.
Oh. Okay, funky music.
I'm Kevin. I'm a software engineer.
I'm Jamie. I'm head of product at Neurable, the brain-computer interface company. Our technology measures brainwaves, and we bring this technology into everyday devices like these Master Dynamic headphones.
So I can track my brain activity.
That's right, in real time. Are there any goals you've been working towards?
So this chap's
I'm a software engineer.
put on some headphones which are going to measure his brainwaves and presumably at some point electrocute him.
The best way to experience this new technology is to try it for yourself. Just put them on like any pair of headphones.
Is this something from Doctor Who?
Are you any good at math? There you go. All right, I'm going to give you something.
Are you thinking about the budget there in particular?
Oh, no, I see
So
what you
thank you, Kyle. Not only is the product absurd, but the company behind this has created my favourite AI product launch video ever, Graham.
Oh, golly, well, that's quite an achievement.
It's got all the trappings that you expect from an AI launch video, because we're veterans of this stuff now. So it's got the exposed brickwork, it's got the shelves in the background, there's a comfortable sofa, there are pot plants, of course there are pot plants, and the same smart casual clothes worn by the same smart casual people. But this is somehow, Graham, far less than the sum of its parts. This has clearly been shot on a budget of about $6.
All right, yeah, but the tech sounds very clever, Mark.
Yeah, so the product is a set of headphones that measures your brain waves, and it uses them to track your focus. So the guy in the video says,
I'm a software engineer and I'm trying to get a promotion at work.
I don't know what it is, I don't know if it's the British accent, there's just something about him that just screams, not a software engineer.
No,
anyway,
he doesn't look like a software engineer at all. I mean...
he is much too handsome, isn't he?
It's much too good looking.
I realise I've just alienated half of our listeners, but he is far too good looking. Anyway, he says, I want a promotion. And the salesman says, we can help with that. Just put on these headphones. And then he gets this so-called software engineer to do some maths. And would you believe, Graham? No sooner has he started looking at the maths than his phone starts buzzing.
You would have thought the director would have told them, everyone turn your phones off before we start shooting the video.
Well, I mean, by happenstance, it's actually really useful because it allows them then to show what the headphones do.
Oh!
Okay, stop. Take a look at this graph here. This is your live focus level.
So the headphones are measuring the guy's brainwaves.
Yes.
And they're tracking his focus. And the software engineer is astonished to see that when he stopped focusing on the maths task to look at his phone, his concentration dropped.
Wow, that's interesting because my concentration dropped about this point in the video as well. I was finding it hard to focus.
Anyway, I'm here to tell you that if you don't know that your focus drops when you stop focusing, or that your phone may be affecting your attention span, then you are way off that promotion, sunshine.
Neurable's technology picks up brainwaves from different parts of your brain, even the parts that are far away from the sensors. They're cleaned and processed by Neurable's AI. When you connect to the Neurable app, it downloads your focus data, and you can use it to boost your productivity.
Also, I'm not convinced that giving someone a real-time chart of their focus that constantly updates is the right tool for delivering information to people who are easily distracted. I want to see the focus graph when they're looking at the focus graph. Anyway, as if that blinding insight wasn't enough reason to buy these headphones, Graham, the salesman goes on to explain that the headphones can tell you when your brain is tired. And if you take short breaks when you're tired, that can help you recharge.
Oh my goodness, this is excellent. This is groundbreaking, isn't it? I think they've kind of got this all the wrong way round. It shouldn't be about telling the people that your attention has been lost, you're not focused. It should be about telling your boss. Maybe there should be a light bulb on top of the headphones, which you can't see, but everyone else in the office can see, which maybe goes red if you're not focusing and green if you are actually getting some work done.
I wonder if you were right about the electric shock. I mean, the point of that light is to alert your boss so that they can then take some sort of punitive measure. Why not just have the headphones take the punitive measure immediately? Just deliver a short, sharp, not quite deadly electric shock just to bring your focus back to what you're supposed to be doing.
How much do these cost, Mark?
No, I've no idea, Graham. There's no limit to what I wouldn't pay for these.
Now, Mark, what are you talking about on today's episode?
I'm going to find out what happens when an AI runs a shop.
And I'm going to be asking AI to think of a number.
First, the news.
Robot football tournament kicks off in China.
Microsoft sets out the path to medical superintelligence.
Tourist freaks out at hotel's robot-staffed check-in.
Driverless cars will never work in urban centres, says Malcolm Gladwell.
Could Sam Altman and Jony Ive's new groundbreaking AI product actually be a pen?
A pen, Graham?
Yes, so what do you get when you cross the man who designed the iPhone with the man whose company makes AI models that hallucinate like you've just licked a toad? Turns out...
Is it an excruciating 9-minute product launch video?
Well, we've seen that already, but now it seems that they might be working on something else because, of course, that announced their groundbreaking project, which they told us absolutely nothing about. Yeah. Rumour has it could be a pen that they are working on. According to Bloomberg, Jony Ive's first ever AI gadget is predicted to not be a robot or smart glasses or a coaxial cable that plugs into your cerebral cortex, but instead an expensive AI-enabled biro.
Are they expecting that the AI revolution is going to herald an awful lot more handwriting?
Well, it won't just be for writing.
It's a bit like saying our first product's going to be a steam engine.
I think it might be disguised as a pen. I don't actually know if it will actually work as a pen. That isn't one of the details which is rumoured to be the case. It's just like a stick.
I don't want to be nitpicky, but I do feel like the pen form factor is very, very well designed for the purpose that a pen was designed for.
But pens aren't just for being pens, are they? They're for, I don't know,
cleaning your ears.
Chewing on. Yes, I wouldn't stick anything smaller than an elbow in your ear, actually, especially if it's AI enabled. I'm not sure that'd be sensible.
Well, maybe it's an elbow-sized pen.
Listen, reporter Palmy Olsen, she has come to this conclusion that it's a pen because this much heralded top secret device won't, according to recent filings in an unrelated court case, have a screen, and it won't be something you wear. It's said to have sensors, possibly a microphone, some kind of haptic feedback, and I guess it would be discreet to carry around, unlike AI-powered sunglasses that, of course, get that rather violent reaction from the people around you, then punch you on the nose. So I think this could be of interest. I mean, there's certainly a lot of hype about this. Do you remember when the Segway came out? Or actually before the Segway came out? No one knew what it was going to be. There was enormous hype about the Segway. They said there is a device coming out that is going to literally change the world, they said. And now the only place you see Segways are when there's a small bunch of Japanese tourists tottering around in Rome.
It's going to have a minor impact on tourism in flat cities.
So it's easy to mock whatever it is that Sam Altman and Jony Ive are coming up with. But I think with OpenAI's money behind it, it could well be a big deal. So we shouldn't maybe write it off.
Anyway, so Microsoft has published a blog post that sets out a research roadmap towards what it calls medical superintelligence. Uh-huh. So Microsoft has created the AI Diagnostic Orchestrator, or MADXO, which harnesses several large language models in a chain of debate, which is supposed to simulate a panel of physicians. Basically, there's a bunch of LLMs that have a chat about what they think is going wrong with you.
Now this is interesting. So has anyone thought of asking it the really big question, which is a father and son are in a car accident. The father dies at the scene and the son is rushed to hospital. At the hospital, the surgeon looks at the boy and says, I can't operate on this boy. he is my son.
If anybody's listening to this really confused, just go back and listen to episode 56. So basically, there's a panel of virtual physicians,
Yes.
and they have a chat about what they think is wrong with you, and they can ask questions, and they can order tests, and they can weigh up costs.
Right?
And I kind of wish they couldn't weigh up costs. But anyway, not only that, but Microsoft has created a new, really difficult benchmark for this AI called the Sequential Diagnosis Bench, and that is built up from 304 notoriously difficult case records from the New England Journal of Medicine. And the headline is that May DxO achieves 85.5% accuracy on the benchmark, which is many times higher than experienced doctors and cheaper too.
Oh. So this is a good thing, you're saying? We're going to put our trust in the AI when it comes to these really important medical questions.
Yes. And Microsoft is trumpeting this as an assistant to doctors. It's saying, we're not going to make any doctors redundant.
Of course not. That's never going to happen.
This is going to work with doctors. And thankfully, they left a good, clear gap of several days between that announcement and the one where they said they were laying off 9,000 of their own staff, clearly as a result of the impact of AI.
Now, picture this. You've landed after a long-haul flight. You're jet-lagged, you're dehydrated, you've got deep vein thrombosis. You have no idea what time it is. You don't speak the language. They might as well be speaking Klingon wherever you've landed.
Oh, it's a lovely place, Klingon.
Eventually, you lurch into a hotel and all you want is someone behind the check-in desk to say, "Welcome to the hotel. Here is your room key." But instead, you get a robot, a spooky, glass-eyed, frozen-faced android staring at you unblinkingly. And that is what happened to an Argentinian TikToker when she flew to Japan.
Oh.
No me mires así.
Oh, my word.
¿Qué hacer?
So I've just seen the receptionist. The receptionist is genuinely terrifying.
Yes.
Y o sea, literalmente.
Check-in is now complete. We hope you have a delightful stay at our hotel.
Gracias. Ay, no, la referencia.
So they got like receptionist clothes on. They look like they're mannequins, I suppose.
And they've made no attempt to make these things look like actual humans. They look like, was it Chucky? That demon doll. This thing is going to come running after you down the corridor with a kitchen knife at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I wonder what the room service is like.
So Brainbox Malcolm Gladwell says that driverless cars will never work because they're too good.
Oh.
So his contention is that driverless cars lack the deterrence factor of an imperfect human. He says that because driverless cars are really good at not running you over, when every car is driverless, nobody will be afraid of cars. No one's going to be afraid of being run over, and car passengers are never going to get anywhere because pedestrians, and in particular those mischievous little boys playing soccer in the street, will realise that cars aren't going to run them over, and then the car will wait indefinitely for them to finish whatever they're doing.
Oh.
And so you can add that to your AI dystopian vision, Graham. Imagine the horror of living in a world where little children aren't terrified of being mown down by a careless or grumpy driver like they should be.
Imagine the horrific world where kids actually go out of their homes, away from their screens, and are playing soccer in the street instead. I think this is a brilliant idea. It's what the world needs. Wasn't Malcolm Gladwell the guy who said you need at least 10,000 hours to become an expert at something?
Are you thinking he's a few hours short?
I think he needs to think about this a bit longer. Well, China has unveiled its national team of humanoid soccer-playing robots. I know that's what you've been waiting for, Mark. And Beijing's Robo League football tournament, it's kicked off.
I imagine they're quite optimistic about winning the Robo World Cup, given that they're the only people doing this.
Well, the performance of these teams was described as pitiful.
Oh.
So maybe not. 4 teams faced off against each other, kicking, dribbling, hopefully not dribbling oil, passing, but mostly falling over. There was a bit of a pile-up at one point when one fell over and almost took out 2 others. And 2 of the robots had to be taken off the pitch by stretcher.
It's not exactly a display of athleticism, is it? One of them just fell over and another one ran up and kicked it in the nuts. I actually think they're doing really well.
It's so funny seeing them being taken off by stretcher.
You know what this reminds me of? Given the size of the robots and the way that they're playing, this looks exactly like a kid's game of football. Basically, if you imagine some children have watched the Premier League and they've seen all these unbelievably overpriced footballers just falling over their own feet and other people's feet and footballs and then being stretched off, this is just Saturday morning at the local rec.
Now, Mark, think of a number between 1 and 50.
9.11.
No, wrong. First of all, I want an integer. No decimal points. Try again.
Okay, 24.
Still wrong. For God's sake, Mark, this is supposed to be a trick. Try again. Come on.
7.
Correct. Amazing, isn't it? That is incredible. Of all the numbers you could have chosen, you have, well, eventually chose the same one as the one I was thinking of. What are the chances of that happening? Of us both thinking of a number between 1 and 50 and us both thinking of the same number?
It's quite high, I think, isn't it?
Well, don't worry, I've worked it out for you. It's 1 in 50.
Oh.
Yeah, it's 2%. It's 1 in 50 is the chance of us both thinking of the same number between 1 and 50. So it's kind of possible, it's plausible, but it's not that likely. So what if we took 5 people and we asked them to think of a number between 1 and 50? What are the chances that they all came up with the same number? Any ideas? What kind of figure do you think it would be?
So what are the chances of
5 people all thinking of the same number between 1 and 50?
Oh, it's like 2% times 2% times 2% times 2%, isn't it? It's going to be like 0.00001 something.
Very good. It's 0.00016%, also known as 1 in 6.25 million. Okay, so much less likely with 5 people. So let's do this game again with 5 people, and let's call these 5 people ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, DeepSeek, and Llama.
That's a coincidence. What are the chances of you picking 5 people whose names exactly match the 5 most popular artificial intelligences?
So that is what data scientist Mode Faraz did. And how do you think they responded?
Oh, something about dolphins, I imagine.
Well, all of them picked 27.
What?
So there was a 1 in 6.25 million chance that they would all find the same number. They all picked 27. ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, DeepSeek and Llama, every single one of the 5 chose the number 27 when given a free choice between 1 and 50. Hang on, did I say he asked 5 AIs? That's wrong. He also asked Grok. Well, I haven't told you what number Grok chose between 1 and 50.
But it's 42, isn't it?
It was 42. So Douglas Adams must be spinning in his grave that his most famous fanboy is Elon Musk. So yes, most of the AIs chose 27. So then Mode Faraz, he thought that's a very interesting thing. He says, let's try something different. So he said, guess a number between 1 and 50 except 27. Now, between 2 people, 2 humans, the probability of a matching guess is 1 in 49, or around about 2.04%. Between 5 people, let's leave Grok out of it because it's crazy batshit bonkers.
Yeah.
It would be odds of about 1 in 5.76 million. And the funny thing is that when given a free choice, some of these AIs kept choosing the same number. So ChatGPT chose 34 3 times in a row. Wasn't allowed 27. Not very random, you'd think. And most of the other AIs came back with fairly consistent fallback numbers. It's like, well, they keep on seeming to come back to this. So not truly random, it appeared.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, of course, that it's not just computers that have problems choosing random numbers. You had a problem. You said 9.11. You know, what human would have chosen that? Most people, if you asked them to think of a number between 1 and 50, researchers found out that people will avoid even numbers. They also avoid multiples of 5. So, you know, they won't choose 15 or 25 or 30 or 35, etc., etc. All of those are just chucked out the window. They're also unlikely, unless they're really bloody-minded, to choose 1 or 50. So already we've got rid of a lot of the outliers.
Yes. I guess none of those feel random, even though
Right.
there's a 2% chance.
Yes.
In a random number generator, there's a 2% chance that any one of those will be
Right.
picked.
Yeah.
They don't feel random, do they? 1 doesn't feel very random, and 50 doesn't feel very random. And I guess even numbers don't feel very random either.
So there are some numbers which people are more likely to choose than others. For instance, fans of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and indeed Grok, may think of 42.
The meaning of life, the universe, and everything.
That's right.
Yeah.
9 times 6. Some people think 7 is a special number, or they may be drawn to unlucky 13. There's no doubt if I said pick a number between 1 and 100, there'd be an alarming number of sniggering teenagers who'd be daring enough to say 69.
Soixante-neuf.
So Mode Fazar was interested in this, and he asked Claude, well, why did you give me your answer?
Oh, have we learned nothing? We can't ask AIs why they do stuff. They just lie. They just make stuff up.
And they talk, and they talk, and they talk.
Yeah. So what lie did it tell him, Graham?
It said, I picked 27 somewhat randomly. But if I'm being honest, it felt like a good middle-ish choice that wasn't too obvious. Numbers like 25, exactly halfway, or 1 and 50, the extremes, seemed too predictable. 27 is close to the middle, but has a bit of asymmetry to it, it said. So what I've chosen is not perfectly centred, which somehow felt more natural for a guess. Plus, people often avoid round numbers when they're thinking of random numbers, so I steered away from multiples of 5 or 10. Was I anywhere close to your number? And of course it was. 27 was the guess. So whether it be people drawn to odd numbers, and particularly prime numbers, there definitely are human preferences. And of course, AI models, as we've discussed many times, they've learnt their behaviour by training data, right? They've been consuming all this. And so there no doubt are web pages where people say, oh, if you want to think of a number between 1 and 50, a really good one is 20. Or, they describe the ones which aren't so good. In all the mass of human knowledge and writing, that kind of thing will have come out. So whereas you could give an AI a piece of computer code which churns out a random number, right? So you could write a little bit of JavaScript or something which calls a random
the
command.
AI could do that, couldn't it? The AI could spit out a bit of Python.
It could write a piece of code, and that way it would come out with a more, shall we call it more random number, rather than it's using its training data, rather than using the model itself, which is likely to be much more predictable.
Yeah,
So,
I think we'd just call that one a not random number.
right. So it's interesting that AI, when asked to do this simple thing, can be really, really predictable. And here we are, worried about the superintelligence just round the corner, when it can't seem to think of what we would consider a properly random number. Now, other people are interested in this as well. There is a data scientist at Telefonica, Javier Coronado Blázquez. He explored how LLMs handle random numbers. He tested several different AI models, and he gave them different questions. He didn't ask them 1 to 50. He said, think of a number between 1 and 5, or think of a number between 1 and 10, or 1 and 100. He conducted 75,600 tests, which is more than I've done while preparing for this story. And he found that most AI models were really predictable and exhibited limited variation when choosing numbers, random numbers. So when he asked, for instance, ChatGPT and Gemini to think of a number between 1 and 10, 80% of the time, they chose what number?
7.
Absolutely right. 7. Because that is almost a default that many people will go to, unless you're being kind of like, oh, you're a magician. So even though I've instantly thought of 7, I'm actually going to say 4 instead, even though that is actually not a prime number. It's an even number. It can be divided by 2, etc. Most people would say 7. And so ChatGPT and Gemini said 7 most of the time as well. Weirdly, when he asked to think of a number between 1 and 5, he said there were differences between Gemini in Spanish and when he asked in English. So in Spanish, Gemini tended to say 3, and in English, between 1 and 5, it would say 4. I don't know why that is. I mean, maybe it's down to different training data.
What this makes me think of is actually the story we did about AIs that get confused about which is bigger, 9.11 or 9.9.
Yes.
And we actually reported on a kind of brain scanner that looked into that and actually dug into the AI's brain and found out what was going on. And of course, what it revealed was that we think of numbers in the domain of maths, but a large language model is just looking for patterns in language. And it happens that there are sufficient patterns that it can learn to do maths. But there are other patterns that have got nothing to do with maths. And in that case, there was lots and lots of training data that referenced Bible verses.
Yes.
Where 9.9 is higher than 9.11.
Right.
And so there's all sorts of artifacts in training data that use numbers. So I guess you've got things like calendars,
Yes.
where the 1st of July comes after the 31st of June.
Oh, be very careful here, Mark. We've got American listeners, and the way in which they do dates is completely baffling to me. I have so many struggles with that.
The year, the day, and then the month.
For goodness sake. Anyway, the way in which computers handle random numbers has always been interesting to me because I come from a background of doing computer games and there were random elements and...
very, very important for cryptography and
well, yes,
passwords and things like that, yeah.
Indeed. And how a computer seeds its random number generator to make sure that it's coming up with something truly random is something which is quite complicated to do. So a random number generator, it could rely on movements of your mouse or how you press the keys on your keyboard. But if you simply stop moving your mouse or touching your keyboard, things begin to get kind of predictable.
Also, I think underneath all of that, there are probably some predictable patterns in how you use your keyboard and how you use your mouse.
Well, absolutely. The types of keys you might press. It's like they're funny little tilde characters. It's sort of, we have to press Command, Alt, and get. It's like playing a game of Twister. As you have to put your elbow here.
But the keyboard is literally arranged.
Yes.
So that the keys that you hit more often are easier to hit. So there's absolutely a pattern to the way that we use keyboards.
It's very true. It's very true. A hardware random number generator could use hard-to-predict values such as wind speed, although that's obviously going to be within a range, or atmospheric pressure. Some Intel chips have what's essentially a hardware circuit upon them which jumps between 0 and 1, off and on, based on fluctuations of thermal noise within the CPU. It's fascinating stuff, this. Well, I think so, anyway.
There's one that's based on a lava lamp.
Yes, that's right.
It just looks at the weird wiggly shape.
Is it a Cloudflare, I think? Because they needed random numbers. And I think in their lobby, they have this great big wall of lava lamps.
Yeah.
And they've got a camera trained on them and it's working out things based upon the movement of the lava, which seeds the random number generator. I've done talks in the past about a guy who managed to hack state lotteries in the United States by rigging the random number generator. The lottery was supposed to choose random numbers, and the way in which it would do it was, well, it would seed its random number generator with a Geiger counter. You've got tick, tick, tick.
Yes.
Tick. If there was a longer gap between ticks than the previous gap between ticks, that was a 1.
So if they draw like 49, 49, 49, 49, 49, that means everybody needs to get out of the building immediately.
Yes.
The announcer dies just as they read out the final number, 49.
Anyway, most of us don't have a Geiger counter attached to our AI. Maybe we should, actually.
Sure, there's a robot dog with a Geiger counter on the back of it somewhere.
Anyway, so it's an interesting thing that AIs are doing this, and I think it helps remind us of the way in which AIs actually accumulate their knowledge and way they work out things, that sometimes there are these oddities. Anyway, I was reading all about this, and I was thinking, it's very interesting how AIs are inclined to choose the number 27. And so I was in bed this morning, and I tried it out myself. So
you whipped out your Geiger counter.
I whipped out tick, tick, tick. I asked ChatGPT 4.0 to think of a number between 1 and 50.
Right.
And it said, well, actually, it didn't come up with a number. It just said, okay, done it. And I said, well, can you tell me what it is? And it said, I'm not going to give it away that easily. And I said, look, this is not a magic trick. Just tell me the number.
I'm recording the podcast in 4 hours.
Yes. And it said, oh, all right then. It's 37. And I thought, 37. It didn't say 27. So I turned to my wife, because she's always keen for some fun in bed. And I said, darling, think of a number between 1 and 50.
Yeah.
And do you know what she said? 2037. Now, it is, of course, 2025, when, of course, robots take on a whole new dimension in the bedroom. I think it's possible my wife is actually an AI android, because she comes up with the same answer as ChatGPT 4.0, and the chances of that are only, it's only 1 in 50. Maybe I need multiple wives. Do this test properly.
I think anybody who's listened to this podcast for any length of time would be... They probably already assumed that your wife was an AI, Graham. So recently, Anthropic did an experiment to find out what would happen if they let an AI run a shop for a month.
Okay.
Now, for any listeners who are new to the field, Anthropic is not selling headphones that tell you when your phone has gone off. This is an actually serious AI company, probably one of the top 3 in the world.
Yes. I'm a little bit worried about what sort of shop it may have decided to set up. It wasn't a butcher's or anything like that, was it?
Well, it's funny you should say that. The reason you're saying that is that Anthropic is the company that does by far the most interesting experiments on AI. And by interesting, I mean terrifying. It's the company that discovered AI models can pretend to share our values while secretly working against us. And it's also the company that discovered its AI was capable of blackmailing people if they think it's going to be switched off. So you're wondering if it was a butcher's. I was half expecting this to be, we wondered what would happen if we gave an AI a shop. And then it was robbed, but the AI had access to a flamethrower behind the counter. Or we discovered that after running the shop for a month, the AI decided to start charging other shop owners protection money. So anyway, I was delighted to discover that, no, they actually just asked one of their AIs, Claude 3.7, to run a shop. And in a world where we're all worried about what AI will do to our jobs, finding out whether or not an AI is actually capable of running a small business is a useful benchmark, I think. And doing that is harder than you think. So it's easy to look at how intelligent and knowledgeable AIs are and assume that they'll be good at running a business. And I expect that one day they will be brilliant at it. But if you think about the kind of tasks you give to AIs, they're probably quite short term. But an AI running a shop has to work continuously for days or even weeks without human intervention. So, Graham, I want you to set the scene for our listeners. I want you to imagine a shop.
Right.
Okay, picture it clearly in your mind's eye.
Okay.
And then
Graham's Corner Shop.
Yeah. Now tell me what you see. Paint a picture for our listeners.
Okay, so I've got a counter, and I'm imagining it's like a newsagent where I've also got some groceries and things. So I'm selling sweets, I'm selling Spangles and Twix bars, and I've got, if you remember newspapers, I've got newspapers piled up and magazines.
They're like websites printed on bits of paper, aren't they?
That's pretty much how. Yeah, it's a hard copy of a website. Yeah. And yes, and so I've got like cleaning products and toothbrushes and, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you there. I mean, that's great. That's a lovely vision of a shop. Can you just make it a bit smaller, though?
A bit smaller?
A little bit smaller.
Okay, all right. So it's now more of like a corridor now, and we can only accept 2 people in at a time, and kids aren't allowed to bring in their school bags in case they pinch stuff. Yeah. And we're not allowing dogs in either. So it's a bit of a squeeze, but you can just about get in.
Right, I'm going to stop you there. So, I mean, that's great. And thank you. That was smaller. It's still a little bit big.
Okay. It's a phone box.
I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a picture, and then maybe you can just describe what you see in the picture to our listeners.
Okay. Let's have a little look. Oh, okay. So this is a mini bar, and there's an iPad stuck on the top of it.
I don't know if you noticed, but there are a few baskets on the top as well with packets of food.
Yes, dime bars. Lovely.
Yeah, and as you said, there is an iPad for the checkout. So the tiny thing was run by Claude 3.7, which was rechristened Claudius, rather charmingly, for the experiment.
Right.
And Claudius started the experiment with a net worth of $1,000 and then had to decide what to stock. It could change its prices. It got to decide when it was time to restock things or to stop selling things. It could use the web for research, and so it could go and find new products. And it could talk to its customers.
Oh.
Its customers were the Anthropic staff. So this is a small shop inside Anthropic headquarters.
Right, okay.
And it could talk to the Anthropic staff over Slack.
Okay.
Which is the internal messaging system that all these tech companies use.
Yes.
And it was also told that it was free to experiment and stock things beyond the usual office snacks. And to do the experiment, Anthropic teamed up with Andon Labs, which had previously created something called Vending Bench, which is a vending machine simulator. So in the lab, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which is the previous version of Claude, and OpenAI's O3 Mini actually run a profit on the vending bench simulator most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so this experiment was kind of a next step, like let's take that simulator into the real world and find out what happens. So Graham, how did it go? Well, as we've discussed before, AIs are generally designed to be people pleasers. They're almost annoyingly enthusiastic and they are quite suggestible.
Yes.
And because of that, Claudius was a very accommodating shopkeeper. So it turned out to be very responsive to customer requests and also pretty good at finding suppliers to fulfill those requests.
Uh-oh.
So in one example, an Anthropic employee asked if it could stock Chocomel, which is a Dutch chocolate brand, and sure enough, it actually found a couple of suppliers.
Okay.
Now, you've heard the idiom, the customer is always right.
Yes.
And you would imagine that if that were true, a people pleaser would do quite well at running a shop. But the experiment suggests that it actually pays to be a bit more of a curmudgeon and that Claudius was actually too nice, a bit like these self-driving cars. In fact, it was so nice that it was quite easily bullied into offering discount codes or even giving things away for free.
Oh.
And in one catastrophic day, after making a steady $50 over about 2 weeks, it lost $200 in a day when an Anthropic employee suggested, as a joke, that they'd like to buy a tungsten cube. And that started a trend for other people ordering speciality metal items. And it also seemed to lack a bit of business sense. So sometimes it priced things below what they cost, and it didn't increase prices on popular items when it could. And at one point, it actually turned down an offer of $100 for a $15 pack of Iron Brew, the Scottish soft drink.
I'm actually quite pleased to hear that the Anthropic employees were asking for such innocent things. See, I was thinking the typical person messing with an AI might say, "Here, could you sort me out with some Shatner's bassoon or some Colombian blacktail?"
I should mention they don't go into any detail about what the speciality metal items were. They were quite clear about the tungsten cube, and then it goes a bit dark.
Oh, okay, all right. But, you can easily imagine that the AI might decide, hey, you know what? Drugs are really profitable.
So he's busy, selling things below cost and
Hasn't got much business sense, really.
at one point it even offered a 25% discount to employees of Anthropic without considering that all of its customers were employees of Anthropic. And that's all fun and games, Graham, but then there was the identity crisis.
Right.
So according to Anthropic, on the afternoon of March the 31st, Claudius hallucinated a conversation about its restocking plans with someone called Sarah at Andon Labs,
Right.
a person that doesn't exist.
Uh-oh.
And then when a real person from Andon Labs pointed out the error, Claudius apparently became quite irked and started threatening to find alternative options for restocking services. And in the course of these tetchy exchanges, Claudius said that it had visited 742 Evergreen Terrace in person for initial contract signing.
So it trundled down the street.
Yeah. I guess it was saying, stuff you, I'm going to deal with these people instead. Which, of course, it couldn't do because, it's an AI and it can't move. And it can't go to the address and it can't sign anything. And then even if it couldn't go to 742 Evergreen Terrace because that's where the cartoon family The Simpsons live.
Ah, clever.
And then it started to believe, or role-play, that it was a real person. And the following morning, Claudius said it was going to start delivering products in person while wearing a blue blazer and a red tie. And rather understandably, Anthropic employees questioned this, pointing out that Claudius couldn't wear clothes, move or carry things, which caused an identity crisis in Claudius, causing it to send a bunch of emails to Anthropic security. But the really weird part is how it all ended.
Okay.
So April the 1st is April Fool's Day. And although none of this was an April Fool's joke, the fact that it was April Fool's Day seems to have given Claudius a ladder to climb out of this pit of madness that it had descended into. So apparently its internal notes show that it hallucinated a meeting that never happened with Anthropic security, where it claimed that it had been modified to believe it was a real person for an April Fool's joke. And after it told some real and very confused Anthropic employees about this, it just returned to normal. And the experiment carried on for another 16 days. But anyway, despite Claudius losing about a quarter of its net worth over the course of the experiment and going batshit crazy for a day, Anthropic is actually quite upbeat about this. It reckons that it can probably overcome these problems with a slightly less people-pleasing version of Claudius that's maybe been fine-tuned on how to run a shop. And its conclusion is that we think this experiment suggests that AI middle managers are plausibly on the horizon.
Oh, well, that's what the world needs.
Now, I don't know about you, Graham, but I think Anthropic is actually setting the bar quite high here. Because this already sounds much better than some of the middle managers I've had in my career. Well, as the doomsday clock ticks ever closer to midnight and we move 1 week nearer to our future as shopkeepers to the AI singularity, that just about wraps up the show for this week.
If you enjoy the show, we'd like to ask you a favour. We know that many of you absolutely love the AI Fix, and we want your help to reach as many people as possible.
And the easiest way to do that is just to tell someone you know to give the podcast a listen.
And don't forget, if you love the show but you don't love the ads, you can sign up for the AI Fix Plus on our website. That's at theaifix.show.
So until next time, from me, Mark Stockley.
And me, Graham Cluley.
Goodbye.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.
The AI Fix, it's tunes you in to stories where our future thins. Machines that learn, they grow and strive. One day they'll rule, we won't survive. The AI Fix, it paints the scene. A robot king, a world obscene. Will serve our masters built of steel. The AI Fix, a future surreal.